So this cheese seems pretty simple to make. We need to get started by turning this up to, it's recommended only a medium heat, and then adding our milk. So we're going to want to bring these, this is whipping cream here, but we're going to want to bring these up to 185 degrees apparently. Enter the furnace here. I'm using essentially 4 cups of whipping cream and 2 cups of table cream. It's all about the fat content, right? Now we absolutely do not want this to scald, so I'm going to be pretty much slowly, gently stirring it the whole time. Gotta love these silicone spatulas. And then we'll check back when this gets closer to 185. So it seems most people will put in a pinch of salt for flavor. I've got some of that St Thomas Bane Fire salt I made. Should be a good flavor. And people are using a wide variety of acids. Either a vinegar or a lemon juice is what it comes down to ultimately. I'm going with a red wine vinegar just to see what happens. Mix that in there, start the curdling process, and just keep stirring. We are slowly getting warmer in here though. Again, trying to bring it up to that 185, I believe. Now at some point I'm going to need to strain this mixture. You're supposed to use layers of cheesecloth. I didn't have a cheesecloth I liked, despite what the light makes it look like. This is a freshly cleaned tea towel I've got here. Decent thread count, should strain it pretty well. I'm just going to double check it and try and run some water through it first while everything's boiling up over there. Alright, that's working pretty well. It's nice, slow, steady kind of drain through there. That's going to catch all of my curds, I suspect. Alright, and it's a cute little towel to boot. Alright, so I've got it to just a bit above 185. Starting to get some bubbling going on in there. A little bit of curding. I'm thinking maybe a 1/3 tablespoon of vinegar might have been a good idea, but we're sticking with the 2 at this point, and I need to get back to stirring. I've just taken that off the heat now, and I'm going to keep gently stirring and agitating this for another 10 minutes or so. Seems to be the YouTube consensus. Probably should have checked the cookbook before I started all this, but hey, why go into it with knowledge, right? It's way more fun this way. Okay, because I'm not seeing as much separation of curd and whey as I was expecting by this point, I'm thinking the humble whole milk with its only 3% is somehow needed in this. I'm going to bring this back up to temperature and hope that makes a positive change. So this is back up to about 185. I figured I'd give it a test scoop and see how my cloth does here with its straining abilities. And I'll get back to stirring that. Alright, so I've moved this to some better light, and as I can see, I've definitely got some clumping going on here. It's going to be a very slow drain through this cloth, but that's fine. I'd rather maximize my cheese return. That's totally cool by me. Now do I put in the powdered pain while it's draining, or when it's done? So it's been about 10 minutes of stirring it at this temperature since I brought it back up to temperature the second time. I don't know if that makes it a ricotta cheese or not. You cheese Nazis out there can let me know. But I'm going to let it cool off a little bit, and then we're going to add it to the little bit that is sitting in the cloth already. And hopefully we're on our way to cheese. Kind of feels like I've made a cheese soup here, but I'm just going to slowly ladle it into my cloth there until I get a little bit less weight behind it, driving it through. I don't want to force curds through. Bit by bit, we'll see where this goes. And then just going to sprinkle a little bit of the powdered pain here in there while it's sitting, squeezing itself through in the cloth. Let that flavor infuse. And that'll spread out a little bit as I add the rest of this mixture to it. It's going to be interesting, whatever this turns out to be. Not quite sure how well that's going to be picked up in the camera, but if you listen carefully, you can sort of hear the drip. So that's exciting. I'm thinking we'll check back on this in probably an hour or so and see what we've got. Alright, so the drip is definitely slowing down from the towel here. I was able to squeeze a fair bit out, but let's take a look at how much is underneath here. It's collecting quite nicely. So let's open this up and take a look how things are forming. It's getting there. Slow and steady process. And this is at about 45 minutes. Alright, so it's been about 90 minutes since I started dripping this through. We've emptied the whey out of the bottom into another pot once already. And now I'm just going to change cloths because this thing is soaked. So what better way to dry it out than with a fresh towel? So I'm going to try and roll this into the new towel. And I'm undoubtedly going to have a fair bit of cleanup to do off of the old one. That is definitely looking more like a thicker, creamier type cheese. Alright, I'm going to grab the spatula and start scraping that down. So I've decided to put about half of this away as it is to use it as a cream cheese later. And the rest of this I'm just going to keep on scraping down and seeing, I don't know, just how solid this cheese will get. And this is at about the 2-hour point. So it's about the 2-hour mark. I figure it's time to test this and see if it came out as an edible kind of flavor or not. I'll be honest, I've been doing little testings along the way. I'm liking it so far, but I gotta wrap this video up somewhere, don't I? As far as a farmer's cheese goes, I can't really say that I've ever really had a fresh cheese. But from the samples that I've had so far, this is a really interesting thing, and I'm looking forward to playing with it. There are a few things I would probably do differently, and I'll mention those down in the description down below. So be sure to take a look through that, and otherwise, let's give it a sample and call it a day. So on the classic saltine cracker there. It is pretty good. I think maybe a little bit more pepper, but I always think more pepper. I think maybe some more red wine vinegar, or perhaps even just using red wine. All in all, it was an interesting little test, and I will definitely give it. I'll definitely give it another try. We'll maybe record that. Who knows? Try something with herbs instead of spices. You know. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me here in the kitchen today, making this fresh farmer's cheese. I am most likely going to do something with the whey from this to try and make a twice-cooked ricotta cheese, and I don't know how that's going to turn out, but with any luck, there will be a video following up with that one too. So, until then, take care of yourselves, everybody. Have a fantastic evening.